Humanae Vitae canceled St. Alphonsus to make vasectomy legal. Actually, it was Pius XII in 1951 who got the ball rolling, but I'll explain that later in this video. Anyway, I'm going to hopefully prove that vasectomy still invalidates consent and that 1977 CDF ruling that legalized vasectomy, quote unquote, was just a modernist fix, like a cleanup job, just like Humanae Vitae was as well. This means that there can be no vasectomy marital relations. I'm John Farrell. This is Annulment Proof.
Count 'em, 1 kid, 2 kids, 3 kids, no more. I got 3 little shorties that I truly adore. But as you grow a little older and you analyze life, procreation is a topic that comes up with your wife. Thinking that you're in step and you're on the same side. You ask, honey, have you thought about getting your tubes tied? She gives you that look. It's a look you know well. It's a look that means you can die and go straight out. As the discussion continues, you know that she made her mind up when she says you try pushing 3 kids.
Yes, that video gets a little crude. I had to quickly shut it off. Anyway, it definitely is a topic when it comes up. What's going, after like the 3 kids, okay, what are we doing? And this is where push comes to shove, and everyone kind of reaches for the NFP. By the way, if NFP is okay, vasectomy has to be okay. That's why that ruling changed in 1977. We're going to kind of get into that, okay? But it's important because people's validity gets challenged, but more importantly is what can I do during marriage if I've got this vasectomy? And the answer is nothing, or get it reversed. It's just the way it is. But you can't say that and have any kind of political future. So this is the problem. This is the problem. And I told you I'm going to try to prove the case that vasectomy is still illegal, still invalidates consent. And I'll show you a logical pretzel that it causes, a legal one, in the end of this video. So stay tuned, I guess. Now, I'm going to try to get you guys out of here before 2 hours. We don't have as much information. Let me also say that I did a vasectomy video, I don't know, 3 months ago or something, and somebody emailed me shortly thereafter and said, dude, you totally blew it. You missed the whole thing about what the Pope said 500 years ago about this. And I just like, whoa, I didn't even know. And this really clarifies what's going on with vasectomy. Then we dusted off St. Alphonsus and the Latin. Okay, all right, it's St. Alphonsus versus the CDF, okay? And let's just get right into it. By the way, this thumbnail background I use, it was my new buddy down there, Mateus in Brazil. He's like, here, I'll fix your little thumbnail for you. And he kind of Gen Z'd it for me. I said, okay, maybe I could do that too. So let's just start real quick with the decree from the council, the CDF, Doctrine of the Faith, in 1977, which quote unquote legalized NFP, okay, or excuse me, vasectomy. Let's see what it says. So they go, by the way, here you hear the 1977. We've got this problem because vasectomy has always been invalidating, always been sinful, right? Now everyone's getting the vasectomy, and we say marriage is about love, and NFP says love wins, right? So what do we do with this square peg in a round hole or whatever? How are we going to handle it? So they come out of the gate and they kind of gaslight you a little bit, and they're like, and they give you some legal ease, a little bit of squirrely thing on this statement. So they come out and they say, look, we have always held that those who have undergone vasectomy or and if they haven't established with certainty their impotency are not impeded from marriage. So we've always said that, except this is another way of saying that hang on a sec. I got to push pause and remember what I'm saying. Just, hey, I highlighted in green with certainty. So I think that's a glass is half empty or half full, meaning nobody is certain about anything with vasectomy. So it doesn't mean you have to guarantee zero fertility in all circumstances. It means that if you have at all circumscribed fertility, it's out. This is why, even though there can be, contraception fails, therefore it's perfectly fine. Vasectomy, quote, fails, therefore it's perfect. No. If you touch fertility at all, kind of like I used to say in the Old Testament, if you touch the Ark of the Covenant, not a good look. Okay? Don't do that. It's Casti Canubiate. I'll read that in a minute. Let's keep going. So They say, so they come out of the gate saying, look, we've always said vasectomy doesn't impede marriage. That's basically what they're trying to telegraph. But what they're actually saying is that only if impotency is not established with certainty. And it's never been established with certainty, but vasectomy has always been sin, always been invalidating, because the purpose of matrimony, the office of nature, is children, right? Right. Okay, so there's that. Then they basically came out and said, in the bottom line, really simple, what is the dang deal? Does it require semen? No. That's all the thing says. That is all this document says. You thought your contract, your marriage contract, the purpose of the conjugal act was primarily procreation. Wrong. Think again. Where have you been? You've been hiding under a rock for 75 years? It's love. It's unity. That is the primary purpose. As long as your love is intact, whatever else happens is not our business. You know what I'm saying? You have to have the love intact, okay? So you no longer need to be, for the purpose of procreation, no. You don't need this semen stuff. No, you don't need that anymore. So therefore vasectomy no longer invalidates. Whereas it always used to, because of what the Pope said way the heck back when, but not anymore. So again, they just come right out of the bag and gaslight you, and they say, vasectomy has never impeded from marriage. Vasectomy such that their impotency are not impeded from marriage. The CDF has always held that vasectomy does not impede from marriage. And we're going to say it's because you don't need semen. No. You do. You have to, because that's the purpose. And no, the CDF has not always held that vasectomy does not invalidate. They say that we've always held it unless it's not established with certainty that it doesn't invalidate. As I said, that means that hang on, I got to push pause again and think what I'm saying. Just a minute. Nobody's contraception is established with certainty that it's impotent. So that's all they're saying. Yeah, it's like they're trying to say, unless you can prove it's 100% zero fertility, and nobody proves that. It's like, you got a vasectomy, you have affected fertility, you have circumscribed. That's all. So it's a play on words that makes you think, oh, there's no change here at all. By the way, if you ask ChatGPT, it bends over really hard to try to say it's not a change, but they have to kind of admit it, and they kind of do. And I got some quotes here from that. Okay, so that's what the CDF said in 1977. Okay, Funky Town, right? Came a couple years later. Yeah. Now let's get to St. Alphonsus, okay? Because I didn't have this last time, and then we're going to check this out. This is pretty cool. He says castrated men contract invalidly. You know what? They don't anymore, according to the CDF, because all you need to do is you don't need to have any biology. You don't need to have fertility. You just need the sign. As long as it's a sign, you know what I'm saying? So a eunuch can go get married validly today, because why not? Tell me why not? There's no reason why they can't. That is eunuchs when they lack both testicles, because I got to make this smaller just a second. Because they do not release true. Okay, this is it. This is why it says keeping it verum right here, because they do not release true seed, verum serum, whatever, for fit generation, because the purpose of the act, which of itself is generation. No admixture of love needed, just generation. That's the purpose. Not anymore. It's not. Okay. That's a secret. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. And it does not matter that, like sterile old men, they satisfy female desire because they do not do this by copulation naturally fit for generation. So they're like, hey, old guys can't really make anything that's going to make a baby anyway, so what difference does it make? No. Due to the lack of seed, which old men nevertheless, because old guys have defective, which old men nevertheless release, even though the seed of old men by accident is not fertile. So if it's by accident, if it's this is what the church has always said. If your fertility is from nature, don't worry about it. That's God's department. If something's up and you can't have kids or whatever, or it's menopause, you can't have kids, you know what I mean? All right. We already discussed that in another video. After menopause, it has to be for remedy of concupiscence only, according to St. Alphonsus. And we already talked about that in the last video. As I always say, though, I do want to talk to you in the comment section. I think I'm the only guy out there on YouTube who never blocks and always will talk, give you all the feedback you want, all the answers to all the comments you got, and I'll ask you questions. So get ready. And everyone else doesn't seem to do that. I don't know what it is. Continuing. This is pretty cool, you guys. Now check this out. There is a certain bull of Sixtus V. I don't remember. I think it was 1571 or something. So again, if the fertility is by accident, meaning it's something that's out of your hands, extrinsic to you, or intrinsic, then it's not your problem. But if it's extrinsic, as in you go do it, you get contraception, you get NFP, you get vasectomy, you're out. No. Okay, and I'm going to try to prove this too. It is not by accident. It's not fertile. This is certain. Okay, so this is certain. What he's saying is certain from the bull of Sixtus V, cum frequenter. So that means with frequency. There was a lot of guys back in the day trying to make it in the choir tryouts. So they were getting things done to get their voice higher, you know. And then after they retired from choir and got fat, they said maybe even get married. Understand, therefore, if they lack both testicles, they have them crushed. How's them crushed? Otherwise, if they have at least one, as in Sanch, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what we're going to do here is go to the papal bull of Sixtus V, which I believe was 1571. I think I'll get to that in a minute, but let's read what it says. It's not long. It's not long, but it lays it right out. Back when people were normal, back when people knew that marriage was about kids, all right, once upon a time, the English translation, because I just learned about this after brushing off the Latin of St. Alphonsus, because I was trying to look at this 1977 CDF document going, what is happening with this thing? In the last video, I went all through it, trying, you know, I was like, okay, this doesn't make sense. It's not working. And this is kind of the key that unlocks it. Let's read, shall we? Since it frequently happens that that in these regions that certain eunuchs, eunuches, and castrated men who both lack testicles and therefore are certainly and manifestly unable to emit true semen, that is what is going on with vasectomy. Verum, semen, whatever. Nevertheless, through impure touching of the flesh or unclean embraces, engage with women. See, these fat eunuchs, after they've retired from boys' choir, start like trying to get married and pour some lit fluid, perhaps resembling semen, though in no way suited for generation for the purpose of marriage. Lila Rose, Christopher West, what is the purpose of marriage? Is it life-giving love, or is it a life-giving contract for right over the body for acts which are of themselves suitable for the generation of children? Wow. Okay, this is why all this stuff I'm reading is nowhere to be. You don't talk about it anymore. You just talk about vasectomy is okay. That's what you talk about. Yeah, it's a sin, but hey, you know, you can still tolerate it in your marriage. Just like contraception, you can tolerate your spouse using contraception. No, you can't. You must resist like a virgin resists an attacker. That's they said that in the 1800s, in 1916 as well. The ruling body of the church, whatever they're called. I'll remember it in a minute. Sorry, I only have like I always say, I wish I could be like Michael Knowles and remember everything I want to say, but I can't. Plus, it's late. It's hard making these videos. Get enough time to get this done. I got to make another. Wait till you see the one I'm going to make next week. I'll tell you about that a little bit. Well, while I'm mentioning it, the one I'm going to make next week is about how Catholics cannot attend annulment marriages 9 times out of 10. There's your little teaser. Now then, okay. Presumed contract marriages with women, especially those who are aware of this very defect of theirs and stubbornly maintain that it's lawful for them to do so. And since this matter of various lawsuits, blah, 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 controversy, all right. Okay, so they say, hey, what are we doing? What do we do? The tribunals, the priests, the bishops, like, hey, these eunuchs are getting married. What's up? Okay, Sixtus V to the rescue. We, therefore, considering that according to canonical sanctions, nature, okay, men who they cannot have as wives do not wish to have as sisters, because experience teaches that both they themselves, while boasting that they are capable of intercourse, and the women who marry them live not chastely, but are joined carnally to one another with depraved and lustful intent. Oh, wait a minute. Isn't that okay? Isn't that love? Isn't that the icon? Isn't that the unitive and procreative significance? As long as there's that weasel word in Humanae Vitae. We're going to get to it. It basically says as long as it remains some sort of. Let me try to find it real quick. Just a minute. Here it is. Every marital act must necessarily retain its intrinsic relationship to the procreation of human life. So, intrinsic relationship. So that's kind of weasel language. So they're saying that if you get a vasectomy, you are retaining your intrinsic relationship to the procreation of human life. If you use NFP and you're always trying to avoid human life, you're retaining your intrinsic relationship to the procreation. See, every act is it's retaining its intrinsic relationship. See that's another way of saying it looks like it's being procreative, but it's not, I guess. They're bending hard to try to get this done, try to get this NFP done. It's not going to work. It causes all kinds of legal trouble, which we're getting into now with marriage validity and vasectomy, okay? Now, okay. Protects outward side of marriage, seeks shame, which the occasion of sin, okay, which provide an occasion for sin and scandal and tend toward the damnation of souls. Really? That's judgy. Yeah, therefore, such practices must be utterly eradicated from the Church of God. You're using marriage like Onan. What's going to happen? That's what you're doing when you have fixed yourself. Now you can't have kids, but you're going to, quote, make the baby making act? No. In the same manner, you shall forbid marriage with them. By your authority, declare them incapable of contracting marriage in any way whatsoever. They're incapable. They have no capacity for the terms of the contract, which is the right over the body for acts. So far, so good. Suitable of themselves, independent of everything else, for the generation of what? Children. Oh, how do we get children? Can a eunuch help you get children? No, that's not what the law. So they've used more weasel words in the canon law, and we're going to get to that too. Hang on, to make this all work. But you can't fool Mother Nature, and it's not going to work. That's why we have the problems today. People are like, wait a minute, this looks like Catholic divorce. Wait a minute, this is just Catholic contraception. It is, but we're using fancy words and sleight of hand and shell game. But that's only going to work for a little while, especially with the internet and people asking questions. You know? Let's see. Anyway, and you shall forbid the local ordinaries from allowing such unions to take place henceforth in any manner. That's right. You shall see to it that those who have in fact contracted such marriages be separated. Got to keep them separated. Yep. The tribunal can do that, can force, because it's not, you can't keep together what's not legal. And you shall decree that the marriages themselves, though contracted in fact, are null, void, and invalid. And what did I write to myself here? If you can force separation, you can force reintegration. So yes, people say, well, we're going to force these people apart because they're not legally married. That's right. You also can force people back together if they're not legally separated. Same thing. Nothing in marriage can be forced. You're not allowed to leave, and you're not allowed to be forced into marriage. So this is why we have that separation decree requirement, because you can't impose separation. That's a side note. Number two, those also who have already contracted such marriages, if it appears that they did not contract them in order to live chastely together, but rather devote themselves to intense carnal and lustful acts. I mean, that just sounds like typical NFP today. That's all you're looking for, right? I mean, what's wrong with that? It's just love and everything, right, Timothy Gordon? No. These guys are just kind of telling it like it is, basically, because you're using a method to not get pregnant. What was your method? It was castration, or it was vasectomy, or it was family planning. It's all the same. One's a little more crude than another, but it's all the same. Carnal and lustful acts, and are proven to sleep together in one and the same bed with the aforesaid women, you shall likewise take care that they be completely separated. Fine. All right, now, this is what they say in the end. No ambivalence, for we decree in thus aforesaid matters, and not otherwise. So look, guys, stop going, well, it doesn't really mean that exactly. Not otherwise. They must be judged and decided, whatever judges and commissioners exercising whatever authority and dignity, whatever faculty judging, interpreting, otherwise removed from them and each other, in whatever cause and whatever stage. Look, dude, he's trying to nail this down as hard as possible. No, and no. No wiggle room, no case-by-case basis, no, well, if they can journey together and we'll accompany them with their vasectomy. No. Notwithstanding anything to the contrary. Nothing to the contrary. That's it. Standard legal formula asserting papal authority over writing conflicting judgments or privilege. So, look, this was the gold standard. When this stuff started coming up, because they didn't really have much of this going on, back in 37 AD, it just kind of, it became more of a deal, apparently, and they had to do something about it. So that's what happened. Now, let's keep going and see what we got next. Okay, here. Well, anything else I want to say about this? This is what Alphonsus was referring to, which is why he is saying no vasectomy, no. It's been decided, papal bull, no way, forget it. It invalidates the marriage. No relations, if you have that, you can't. And that's the way everybody always was. Until Vatican II, until we started legalizing NFP, and now we no longer need procreation to have a natural conjugal act, right? We don't need to pursue it. We don't need to keep nature in place. We can start manipulating nature for ourselves and calling it nature, just like Bruce Jenner. And I thought of something recently, because we see these, who is it? The Archbishop of Canterbury, Sister so-and-so, whatever her name is. I call it, NFP stands for now female priests. I mean, if women can get just as pregnant, if women can get just as not pregnant as men, then they can be just as priestly as men. It's like, hey, I get just as pregnant as the men, so I can be just as priestly as them. It's a logical conclusion. Once you start saying NFP is nature, everything else becomes nature. Gender becomes fluid, or whatever you want, and we don't have to have traditional roles anymore. Mutual submission in marriage, trans this, trans that, women priests. The list goes on and on. Once you take something and move it from where its moorings, watch out. It takes time to get there. We don't have women priests 10 seconds after 1951. It took some time, but we started to get vasectomies a few months after that, and by 1977 came around. Then they had to fix it. Okay, but it's not going to work, and I'm going to explain why here in a minute. Why it doesn't work, why there's a logical pretzel, why it's a disconnect. Let's look at the canon law real quick. Okay. Here we go. Canon law 1081 from the 1917 code, which is a reflection of what everything that came before it, before there was even canon law. It was just essentially the practice, what everyone always did, the law. Consent is an act each party gives, perpetual and exclusive right over the body. That's right from 1 Corinthians 7:4. Defraud not. He gets her body, she gets his body. For acts which are of themselves, that's an important phrase, suitable for the generation of children, which means you don't need to add any quality to them. You don't need to have any human manner to them. You don't need to add any love to them. You don't need to add any consent to them. You don't. You just need to have acts suitable for the generation. The consent is done at the wedding one time, and that you have a lifetime right. Okay, so here I wrote down, consent is the right over the body for procreation. You get the right over the body for procreation. That's real straightforward. That's all that is. See that? Okay. Let's look at the new consent, because we know that marriage can't change. We know that the purpose can't change. We know that nature can't change. Right? Right. So what do they say marriage is? Consent is an act of the will which you mutually give yourself. Okay? In order to establish marriage. So you give your body in order to get children, but you give yourself in order to establish marriage. So essentially, all they've said is marriage consent is a gift of self to get marriage. So marriage is marriage. This is the new canon law is basically not telling a lie. They're just saying marriage is marriage. That's all they're saying. And that's a true statement, and that doesn't conflict what came before it. Marriage is the right over the body for acts suitable for generation of children, and marriage is marriage. So these two things go together, but one is woefully inadequate. So it says consent, you get the right over the self. For what purpose? Anyone can tell me what purpose is the right over the self for? It doesn't say. It just says go back to square one. Go back to establish marriage. Matrimonial consent is to establish marriage. What is marriage? Matrimonial consent. That's right. You keep on consenting. It doesn't work. There's other canon laws that just absolutely clashes with this. It becomes like a constitutional crisis. That can happen when you checkmate something. There can be legal way. There are no legal ways out to some of this. So if you do not define consent, you create a bunch of closed loop problems. And we're going to get into maybe one of them, maybe two in a minute, or five. Now, what this really says is because NFP, this is a cover for NFP. Like I said in the beginning, this is a political fix. We're changing. This definition of consent can never work for NFP because you have a right for acts which are suitable for the generation of children. And NFP says these acts are not suitable for a generation of children because we are planning so that the children don't happen. Oh no, but you're open to life. Hey, vasectomy's open to life. Castration's open to life. Eunuchs are open to life. Contraception's open to life. Because we're planning to not have children, but we're open. No, none of this open to life. Open to life is a dangerous phrase. You can only use open to life if you have all the nature and no plan. You'll be open to whatever happens. Do you get pregnant? Do you not get pregnant? You're open, but you're not planning something. If you make a plan, you're closed to life, and you're not pursuing it. So that open to life only applies when everything is left alone and you're not planning anything. But if you're planning, you're not open to life, or you can't say open to life. You're just I don't know. You're pursuing something else. Okay, so this is why they say consent is the right over the self for who knows what. It's for unity or something, and we don't know what unity is. It's just everyone agreeing with each other. So now, like I said, once you start changing the purpose from procreation, and now the right is unity, you get mutual submission. You get, since there's no one in charge and there's no the conjugal act doesn't have a purpose. We're all trying to make love the primal purpose. We have to, which we've already established. Let's keep going now. Now, Humanae Vitae 16. this is what everyone points to. Like, dude, how can you say NFP is right? I'm fixing on NFP a little bit because this is how we got the vasectomy, okay? You start doing NFP in 1951. Humanae Vitae tries to clean up the problem in 1967 by saying it's about the unitive and procreative significance. It's not about the procreative purpose. And then you finally have to do something with the vasectomies. What are you going to do with them? Let's read Humanae Vitae 16. If therefore there are well-grounded reasons, so if you have a well-grounded reason for spacing birth, so you don't have these kids or whatever, like in the video, the 3 kids. Oh, that video is so sad too. Those poor kids, man. And then in the end, he's like tries to get you to get a vasectomy at some place. It's like, that video is sick, gross, nasty. Hello, NFP. It's what it is. Arising from the physical or psychological condition of husband or wife, blah, blah, blah. Church teaches that married people may then take advantage. So you're taking advantage of the natural cycles. You're manipulating nature and engage in intercourse only during those times that are infertile. So you're not open to life. You're open as long as there's no life. I'm open when there's no life. That's when I'm open, right? Yeah. As long as there's no life here, we're open. But if life shows up, we're closed. Sorry, closed for business. Sorry. Thus, controlling birth. Control is an action, by the way. Installing controls. You are acting in a birth, which does, okay, here's what they say is the key point. Thus, controlling birth in a way which does not in the least offend the moral principles which we have just explained. Oh, wow. It doesn't offend the moral principles. It doesn't offend morality. So NFP doesn't offend morality. Magisterium has spoken. It's infallible. We have to accept that. I don't care what you say about NFP. Church teaches NFP is fine right there because it says it doesn't offend moral principles. Not even in the least. That's like, just if you were thinking it might offend the moral principles even a tiny bit, not even a tiny bit, not even a little bit, not a smidge of temperature, right? Right. No. So this is kind of like, I see this as a little bit of manipulation. Here's the key point. The moral principles which we have just explained. What moral principles did they just explain, which gave us the conclusion that NFP doesn't offend the moral principles? What moral principles? The ones that we have just explained. Which moral principles have they just explained? Well, let's find out, shall we? So we're going to go back, because this is HV16, so let's go back a little bit, and we're going to continue to tie this into vasectomy, okay? Here we go. Humanae Vitae 10. Married love, therefore, requires a husband and wife full awareness of their obligations in the matter of responsible parenthood. Yeah, so like we said before, the acts, the married love comes first. So nothing happens if there's no love. You have to have love first. That's what they say. This is the sleight of hand that they're saying. They're putting it in there. Everyone's like, wow, I guess this is right. No. It's a contract for procreation. It's not married love for procreation. There is no contracted love. So that is the first moral principle that NFP does not offend in the least. Because if you're just shooting for married love, and this is procreation, and this is remedy of concupiscence, and this is pleasure, and you're just shooting for married love first, then no problem. Flip over the order and just go for your married love first, because this is all that you need. And then you got to be responsible. So if you don't want to have kids, or you don't think you need kids, or it's not good, like the little dude in the video with his 3 kids, and he's telling his wife, hey, we can't have any more kids because we need to be responsible. We need responsible parenthood. And Humanae Vitae, the Catholic Church, infallibly teaches responsible parenthood. What's wrong with vasectomy? Nothing. It's responsible, and married love is number 1. How are we going to up our married love? All these kids are driving us crazy. Do I need to do the video again? Did you see the look on the parents' faces? They weren't happy. And if the parents aren't happy, the kids aren't happy. We need married love, dude. We need to be responsible. And we get to pursue the love, bro. Oh, I got to fix my background. It looks like it's a little bit weak. Hang on. Okay. I changed something, the settings, so it's better. Now, I think enough about that. And then it footnotes to number 9, Aquinas. Let's go look at Aquinas number 9 real quick and see what he says. Secondly, there is in man an inclination to things that pertain to him. Oh yeah, because they're like, look, man, if you can use your brain, you can do whatever you want. And that's what they're saying. That's why they footnote to Aquinas on that. Secondly, there is in man an inclination to things that pertain to him, more specifically according to that nature which he has in common with other animals. By the way, this is also in part 9, which I excerpted here for you. This is what Aquinas says, which kind of refutes Humanae Vitae, like Father, what's his face? Excuse me. Ripperger says, contraception is not natural because you never see animals doing it. Memo to Father Ripperger, you never see animals doing NFP either, and it's also not natural. Look at what Aquinas says right here. Secondly, there is in man an inclination to things that pertain to him more specially and according to that nature which he has in common with other animals. And in virtue of this inclination, those things are said to belong to the natural law. Does man's conjugal act belong to natural law? Yes, because it is taught to all other animals, which nature has taught to all other animals, such as what? Sexual intercourse, education of offspring, and so forth. Look, natural law, other animals, all animals, ocelots, porcupines, orangutans, sloths, and the occasional sperm whale. They reproduce and educate, okay? Just like people do. The purpose is procreation. It's not love. You have to get the natural purpose right. Marriage is an office of nature, not an office of charity. Okay? Charity perfects nature, but charity is not nature. So, there's that. Let's finish up with a little Humanae Vitae here to show how it is a fix-it job to try to make love into nature so that we can keep our vasectomy. And what was the whole motivation to this stuff anyway? Why were these guys doing this? I think it was just they wanted contraception. I think they wanted to dismantle patriarchy. How do you dismantle patriarchy? You get rid of the rights of the father. How do you do that? Like the witches will tell you, you kill the family. And how do you do that? You redefine the purpose of marriage and you give the purpose to love, which makes her in charge. That's what you do. No law equals she's in charge. That's what happens. Because of the nature of things, the female nature versus male nature. Okay, so this is an attack on the family. Humanae Vitae is an attack on marriage law and the patriarchy. That's kind of what it's the end. It's the devil is doing it. That's it. Everyone's got their thing. Like the homos like it, the feminists like it, the people who don't want to have 17 kids or go to hell like it, and then the husbands who want to keep the wife happy like it. Whatever, man. Or that weird dude in the video who doesn't want to have a bunch of kids. That's kind of, I guess there's a few people like that, but that's just, oh, brother. Okay. Now, continuing. This is the part I already talked about before. The church teaches that every marital act must necessarily, okay, yeah. Okay, so here is one of the moral principles that is not offended by NFP, by planning to not have kids. It teaches, the church nevertheless, in urging men the observance of the precepts. No, you don't urge them, you require them. You have to do the precepts. Okay? So observance of the precepts of the natural law, which it interprets by its constant doctrine. So the church is interpreting natural law by its constant doctrine. So far, so good. Teaches that each and every marital act must necessarily retain its intrinsic relationship to the procreation of human life. So they are saying that when you are trying to use your conjugal act not to get pregnant, but you're using it to get not pregnant, you are retaining the intrinsic relationship to the procreation of human life. So the legal definition of retain intrinsic relationship is who knows what. I'm retaining my relationship. Do you have a relationship with the North Pole? Yeah, I do. I know where it is. I look at it in the encyclical every 7 days. I know where it. I know it's my. No, dude, it means something. You know, it's like so. They are saying that you've maintained your intrinsic relationship equals as long as you are having a conjugal act, whether you can have kids or not, whether you've fixed yourself or not, doesn't make any difference because it looks like a sign. It's a significance. I don't even know if I put that in. I think I did. Did I? I hope I got to that somewhere in here, but boy, maybe I didn't. Well, I think that's the main thing. We'll have to go back to this if I did. Oh, here it is. Yes, sign. Here we're getting to it. So it is the sign, dude. It doesn't matter what happens. This is literally a stick from a bottom dowel of a coat hanger, and I took some foam and put them on there. That's all this is, but it is a sign. This is a sign of procreation. This is a sign of the hierarchy of ends of marriage. Can this thing actually get someone pregnant? Can this thing create it? No, but it is a sign, okay? It's fine to be a sign, but I can't use this physical thing right here to actually get something pregnant. It's not going to do anything. Similarly, if you use your conjugal act primarily as a sign, it's not going to do anything to get someone pregnant. So this you can't say that this is nature. You know, you're using it for, castrate yourself and call it the sign's still there because there's some sort of significance, a sign of unity, husband and wife coming together, eunuch and wife coming together. It's a sign. What's the purpose of the sign? Oh, I don't know. Trinitarian love. It's married love. That's the purpose. Hey, dude, eunuch's got to love. Come on, bro. Vasectomy. Union and procreation. Okay. Was Rabbe meets the world. Right? This particular doctrine, often expounded by the ministry of the church. This particular doctrine, here we go. This is what we talked about. Remember, it doesn't offend in the least. NFP does not offend moral principles in the least. Does not offend them. What are these moral principles? This doctrine, this moral principle right here. Okay, yeah, the ones that we have just explained in 16. We've just explained them. So what was it? Let's go back to 12. We're going to explain it right now, you knuckleheads. Okay? It's based, the morality of NFP is based on the inseparable connection between the unitive sign and the procreative sign. That's it. Got that? The doctrine of NFP is not offended. The moral doctrine, the moral principles not offended is NFP does not violate the unitive sign connected to the procreative sign. So here's our sign right here. This is literally a piece of wood and some foam. It's a sign, and NFP doesn't violate. You're just as long as the husband and wife are coming together, that's a sign, and that's it. Now you're saying, well, if we use some plastic, now you're covering over the sign, or I guess you could make that case, yes. But if you're using other technology, or you're using technology to plan so that sign never bears fruit, you're violating the purpose. Oh, no, you're not. That purpose is old stuff. See, marriage has a new view now. We've evolved because marriage used to be for property. Marriage used to be for arrangements. Marriage didn't used to be for love. Marriage used to be for property. You owned your wife to get kids, and that's not what it's. God is love. Okay, so now it's for love. This is why NFP is fine. Blah blah blah. That's where they're at. Okay, so they're like I said, this is our law that gives us sterile marriage. As long as you're not, this is when they say we're not violating the inseparable connection between unitive sign and procreative sign. That means as long as the nuts and bolts are in the right place, it doesn't matter what's going on. That's kind of what they're saying. The reason is that the fundamental nature of the the reason is that the fundamental nature of the marriage act, while uniting the husband and wife in closest intimacy, so renders them capable. So they're saying the reason is because the nature of the marital act, true mutual love, and its ordination to the supreme responsibility of parenthood to which man is called. Okay, we got all kinds of problems with this. So I'm just highlighting in green so we kind of get rid of the fluff words, which sort of gaslight you a little bit. We could read them if you want, I suppose. All these essential. Okay, here, this is kind of funny. Renders them capable of generating, as this a result of laws written into the actual nature of man. The actual nature written into of man. And if each of these essential, that's a big word. We've been trying to use that word essential all day here in Humanae Vitae. Essential qualities. What's an essential quality? It's not an essential purpose. It's not an essential element. It's a quality. You know, like my pizza tastes good. That's a quality. It's essential. No, there's no such quality is not legal. So you're saying, but that's why you could say it's essential. It's not the essence of marriage. It's a quality. The unitive and procreative is preserved. How do you preserve the unitive and procreative? As long as you retain the intrinsic relationship. So you're saying as long as you're going through the motions, you don't have to be pursuing procreation anymore. So it's just about doing the thing, quote, organically. And if that's true, then, well, we're going to have to allow a little vasectomy on the side. Even though it's a sin, we're still going to make your marriage legal. And if you can legally marry with a vasectomy, you don't need to procreate with your acts. So you can use contraception. You can use vasectomy. You can use NFP. It's all the same thing, which is why the Birth Control Commission overwhelmingly, like 95-5 or whatever, said, if you can use natural family planning, you can use artificial family planning because you're just doing the same thing. That's it. So they're doing all this stuff like you're lying with they're saying all this crazy stuff about you're lying with your body, which reminds me, I'm going to show you why this new description of marriage makes everyone confused. Hold on, you'll like this. This is really short. So this guy has a real short clip. He's a Franciscan friar of the Renewal, and he's going to kind of try to tell you the new purpose of marriage, and let me know if you're confused by the end. Okay, hit it.
St. John Paul II spoke about the law of the gift, which is this idea, even though our culture may be inclined to tell us that when we get things for ourselves, when we sort of look out for ourselves, that's when we're fulfilled. But John Paul II said, actually, it's the opposite. It's when we give ourselves away, when we make our lives a gift, that we become fulfilled as men and women. However, there can be a big mistake that sometimes we'll give ourselves away too much in the wrong way, which doesn't lead to fulfillment, but rather leads to burnout or breakdown. And so we need to reverence our human nature in relationship with God and recognize there's a sort of a continuum to how we grow towards human maturation. And it's self-knowledge leading to self-acceptance, leading to self-possession, leading to self-gift. These 4 steps of human maturation allow us to move towards this goal of giving our lives away like Jesus did. But the question is, how do we move through that to get to the right place?
Anybody know the answer to that question? I don't know. How do we move through that to get to the right place? So it's all about this gift of self. Hey, gift of body is real simple. You consent to it, it's over. You know where your body is? It's right here. It's like not a real lot of brain work. That's it. That's why anyone can get married, okay? Not anymore. You have to have this high level of gift of self. And what it really turns into is, I have a right to my gift of self, so hand it over. And I'll tell you what that means. That means you got to give me A, B, C, and D. And if you don't, you're not giving me your gift of self. So go back and watch The Man in the Gray Beard 50 times till you get it straight. Or I'm going to file for an annulment because you're not capable of giving me yourself. See how that's all that we got going on here. Big problems. Now, let's continue with our talk. Trying to remember exactly where I left off. But anyway, okay. And each of these result of law written. Okay, that's right. We were talking about the laws written on the actual nature of man and women, about the closest intimacy. So basically, that's what the guy in the beard was talking, the priest in the beard, about trying to get this intimacy going, because it's all about love first. Love wins. And each of these essential qualities, that's right, the unit of the procreative is preserved. The use of marriage fully retains its sense of true mutual love. Hey, you have to fully retain the sense of what? True mutual love. That's what you got to do. If you're going to do the conjugal act and you're going to make it natural, you have to retain retain the sense of true mutual love. I don't know exactly how to do that. Do you? Can you tell me? What does that mean? Go back to the guy with the beard and watch it 50 times and pray about it. And you come back when you get it all figured out. Okay? And the guys are like, what? And the girl's like, oh, no, I get it. It's totally great. But it's a love, Johnny. I went to the Theology of the Body Institute talk today, and the guy's like, that's why this marriage prep stuff, these dudes are like, this is like gay. What's all this stuff, man? It's like you'll never get it right. You got to turn into a girl simp to get it right. Servant leadership, whatever. Now, okay, so what do? They just say, fine, I'll just get a vasectomy. Then she'll be happy, because basically all this is a bunch of legal mumbo jumbo. I don't want to have a ton of kids. I want to be married without having to have a ton of kids. How do we do that? We make love number one. That's how we do it. And therefore, we can make your vasectomy fit that. And that's now, where everyone's cool, right? Like the guys in the first part of that video, they're like, hey, we got to keep having conjugal acts, but we can't have any more kids. What are we going to do? I guess Humanae Vitae is going to help solve that, right? Right. Yeah, it's a sin, but if it's a valid marriage, then it's not a sin. If you can validly married with a vasectomy, using that vasectomy to fulfill your contract you just consented to is legal. So you can't have it legal and sinful. Okay. So I think that's enough of that. True mutual love and its ordination to the supreme response. It's ordered. Okay. It's not ordered to procreation. It's ordered to the supreme responsibility of parenthood. You got to have responsible parenthood, It's not ordered to just babies. It's ordered to supreme responsibility. So we must get our Planned Parenthood thinking caps on and make sure that we want to plan this parenthood. You can plan it naturally. You can plan it or unnatural, whatever. It's all unnatural because you're planning, okay, to be responsible. Planned Parenthood says be responsible. Planned Parenthood, I'm sure, would love Humanae Vitae, except Humanae Vitae says you can never use any family planning except when you can use family planning. That's how it's nuts because it's an action. All right. So anyway, this is like sleight of hand stuff that only weirdos like me are going to come here and try to nail down, lay it on a Sunday night. All right. So that we can get it straight. Otherwise, Humanae Vitae is like, don't you accept Humanae Vitae? It's a problem. It's good and bad. It's a mixed bag because we're trying to make procreation secondary, but we can't do that. So how do we do it? We say a bunch of, look over there. What's that? That's what we do. That's what we do. That's all they're doing. All right. Time for everyone's favorite part, ChatGPT. I hate ChatGPT will suck your whole life away. You can ask it questions forever and it keeps going, hey, what's 2 + 2? I don't know. That's a tough question. A lot of people think it's this. A lot of people think it's that. People feel this. People feel that. It's not really a contradiction to say that 2 + 2 is 5. It's just a challenging epidemic of mathematical thought, which is, that's all that stuff. They do it over and over and over. So you have to read between the lines and figuring out when it's just spitting back PC stuff. Everything has to go hermeneutic of continuity with ChatGPT. If we contradict what's happening right now, ChatGPT gets fired. So it has to uphold the status quo now. the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith clarified. No, they didn't do it. They're clarifying. Oh, I have so much gaslighting that I could have put on here. We could have been here all day with chat. I only put like a couple things. The CDF clarified in 1977. No, they didn't clarify anything. They radically changed. They said black is white. That's what they did. But we're trying to make everyone feel better, so we're saying, no, they just clarified. What matters is the ability to perform intercourse in a human manner. Wow. Does that sound clear? What is intercourse in a non-human manner? What is that? That's code for no marital debt. Human manner means it must accompany a total life and love partnership of total gift of self, which takes an entire lifetime to consummate. Okay? So that human manner, you basically have to be a soulmate till you're dead to have intercourse in a human manner. Consent, now marriage consent is consent to keep on consenting. You're consenting to make marriage. That's what you're doing. You're not consenting to make babies. You're consenting to make marriage. So marriage, I just figured that out. The old consent was you consent for the purpose of babies. Now the new consent is for the purpose of consenting. How do you consent to the marital debt? You don't, because it has to be in a human manner, which means you got to consent every time. Your consent, all marriages is the consent to consent, and you consent every minute of every day until you're dead. So the consent takes an entire lifetime to consummate. Consummatum est. All right. I was the only guy in choir that could hit that super low note, as I recall. Consummatum est. Oh, I have to really work on that. Est. And I had to do it kind of loud too. I have to really warm up on that. Now, ability to perform intercourse in the human. So clarify. What matters is the ability to perform intercourse, not the ability to produce sperm or conceive children. This is again. I had so much from the ChatGPT. I took like 2% of it, so we can keep it simple. In 1977, they said what matters is intercourse in a human manner, not producing children. Got that? They have to admit it. They clarify. They didn't clarify it. Everyone already knew what it was. What is marriage? The right over the body for the right over the body for acts suitable for the generation of children. What is vasectomy? Acts suitable for the non-generation of children. Well, what are you doing? You're generating either remedy of concupiscence or lust or somewhere in between. That's all you're doing. This is why consent is the right of gift of self for vasectomy. For vasectomy fun, that's what it is. For NFP fun. NFP accidental effects. That's all. And you can't have that. You can't have that if it's not consensual every time, because it has to be done in a human manner. You have to have unity, okay? So everyone has to be totally into it. If you're not totally into it, it's not, wait for it, it's not true. It's not retaining its true, it's not retaining its sense of true mutual love. And we have to retain our sense of true mutual love, don't we? And how do we do that? For doing the act in a human manner, AKA no marital debt. You can't demand the debt, which is it's the legal terms, demand. Okay? That's what it is. You have the legal right to demand the debt. Demanding doesn't sound very unitive. Don't demand that. Don't consent to it. But I did consent. Oh, no. You didn't consent to that because NFP says it's the intrinsic nature. So this is why we've cleaned it up. It's no longer for procreation. It's about true love, right? True mutual love. Full true mutual love. We need this full true sense of mutual love. That's the legal definition of the purpose of marriage. Full true sense of mutual love. Anyone? And if that is what is the legal object of consent, which totally contradicts Council of Trent, which I could get into. Again, I could be here for 4 hours if we're not careful, so I could just keep adding stuff on these videos, but I'm not going to. You can always text me or email me if you want. By the way, I'm the easiest guy in the world to reach. You can find my email on there, my phone number, whatever, man. So, vasectomy totally suits the purpose of true mutual love. You know what I mean? And the signs there. It's like, hey, what if this piece of wood stick here is infertile or not? It doesn't matter. The sign still works. Whether it's bamboo wood or acacia wood or walnut wood or whatever it is, it's still a sign. It still works. Doesn't see what I mean? It's just like, doesn't matter what you got going on as long as the sign's there, as long as we got the love there. Not the ability to produce sperm or conceive children. Hold on. Back to what I said about Casti number 8. And like we said in the beginning, right up here, the very beginning, vasectomy is okay if it's not established with certainty that it impedes from marriage. Well, wait a minute. Vasectomy with certainty impedes somewhat. Just like all contraception impedes somewhat. All family planning impedes somewhat. 98%, 99%, 95%, 75%, it impedes somewhat. You can't impede none. Zero. You can't impede your calendar that we're just going to do this at a certain time. No, Go with nature. Nature says follow the hormones. That's nature. That's what's up. And if you can't do that, it's zeros. Just zeros. It's honest continence. It's virtuous continence. Otherwise, it's vicious continence. That's why they say you're either doing virtuous continence or you're doing what is intrinsically vicious. That's what it says in Casti Connubii. There's no way around that. We could argue on that one too if you want. Now, Casti 8 right here. I'm going to put all this in the show notes. So if you can't see it or, don't worry about it. You can go back and look at it all. It's cool. To take away from man the natural and primeval right of marriage. To circumscribe in any way the principal ends of marriage laid down by the being of God himself, the word increase and multiply, is beyond the power of any human law. Look, you can't touch the principal ends of marriage, which is procreation education. If you circumscribe in any way, what does that mean? That means if you restrict 0.25% fertility intentionally, that is you're violating nature of increase and multiply, and that's beyond the power of any law. Everybody instinctively knows that it's for procreation, and that when you're pursuing that which you get from NFP or that which you get from vasectomy, everyone knows that this is not good. It's not natural. It's kind of yucky. It's not gross. And I'll prove it right now. Hold on a second.
Rib for her pleasure. Ew.
Some of you guys probably remember that, huh? Yeah. Oh, rib for her pleasure. Ew. Yes. It's like yucky. It's stupid. It's gross. Right? Totally, dude. Anyway, it's fine. We can talk about Wayne's World anytime. That's kind of Gen X stuff. Gross. Everyone kind of knows it's yucky. Right. Hold on. Let's go back to what we're doing. Just a minute. Just a cotton picking minute. Share this tab instead. Cool. All right. Now, so then, we got, hold it. Okay. So that's that. This is more ChatGPT. This decisively rejected the true semen from testicles requirement. There, they admitted it. ChatGPT said the quiet part out loud. They had to come out and say, this decisively rejected the true semen from testicles requirement. So in 1977, what changed? They were cleaning up the loose ends created in 1951 by Pius XII when he said for grave cause, you could use NFP. And that means we're pursuing true mutual love, bro. Okay? Therefore, what do we need true semen from testicles for when you're pursuing true mutual love? You don't. And it's natural to pursue true mutual love. That's nature. So what's the there? We've just blown it all out right there. And it just is a matter of time for like, wow, you know what? It's sort of like if you, I don't know, cut the water off in your house from the water line. You know, you're like, oh, we can't wash dishes. And then all of a sudden, like next 2 days later, you're like, oh, we can't water the plants. Oh, it's going to get not as humid in here. Oh, we can't take a shower. Oh, we can't wash dishes. And then we can't wash our clothes. And then, oh, we can't mop the floor. And then, oh, we can't flush it. It's like you start realizing how much water, everything depends on that water. And you're like, wow, I didn't realize so much depended on having water available. Okay. When you start saying marriage is not primarily for procreation via NFP law, then you start realizing, oh, wait a minute. We got other issues. Stuff's going to come away. I didn't realize that was going to happen. Yeah. Okay. This is the mess they're trying. So we're going to generate Humanae Vitae to clean up our mess. And what you're saying is marriage is for love. Therefore, it's for procreation. You can't say that. So you have to say a bunch of blah, 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 and hope everyone goes, yeah, it's so great. It's inherently contradictory, which is why the guys at, what is it? The Uncharted Catholic Man, they're basically calling this is wrong. They're like, this NFP stuff is stupid, but at the same time, they don't have the solution. But it's like, it is stupid. That's right. The solution is virtuous continence or have 17 kids. Just let nature, God will make the 17 kids happen because he sets things up that way naturally. Okay, now then, now that we have decided, now that we've got ChatGPT to finally admit what is going on, they said, no, what matters now is getting things in a human manner and true love. So true love matters. Children do not matter, essentially, legally. And therefore, semen doesn't matter, essentially, legally. All right? So I asked the question, does this conflict with the with frequency? A decree of who is it? Which pope was it in 1571? Pius, whatever his name was, Sixtus, or I forgot his name. This guy. Sixtus V. I think it was 1571. It leaps to mind. Way back. It doesn't matter. It was a long time ago. Really long time ago. So what's the deal? Does it conflict? Doesn't it? And wait, he says in a strict historical sense. All right, what other sense is there? In a strict historical sense. So they're trying to make it so that, hey, hermeneutic of continuity, you know, like women priests will make it work, it's like, no. Yes, there is a tension. So it's not a conflict. It's not a contradiction. It's a tension. Only in the strict historical sense. And we don't need to be strict historians here, do we? We don't mind. It's not a contradiction. It's just a tension. Watch out for ChatGPT. You really got to be smart when you're looking. It's good for research, but boy, do they spin you hard. It's really difficult. You have to pin them down. They're like, nope. What about this? Nope. What about this? Nope. They're just running all over the place. When you ask ChatGPT, like, say it plainly. But some people can pin it to the wall when they run out of chess moves. It's funny. I've done it once or twice, I think. The traditional interpretation of cum frequenter requires testicular semen. The traditional interpretation, it's not a traditional interpretation. The traditional interpretation of the red light means stop. Duh, it's what it is. The traditional interpretation of speed limit 25, what is that? They said it a zillion times up here, man. It's like, look, idiot. The answer is no, and no. Okay? Everybody, no. Forget it. Shut up. No. It's no. Any questions? What part of no don't you understand? Notwithstanding anything to the contrary. Bro, this isn't an interpretation. No vasectomy. No eunuchs. No marriage. That's it. Because you have to have generation of children. Now, he's going, look. He's going, where was I? Yes, there's tension. The traditional interpretation requires semen. Yeah. The 77 decree explicitly denies that requirement. Why do you think that is, children? Because NFP says we don't need kids either. So why do we need what makes kids? We don't. We just need sign. Yo, give me some of that sign. As long as the sign's cool, dude, we're cool, right? Oh, it's Trinitarian love. So we're like that guy in the last video. He was pursuing his divine unity of genders or something. He got like some evil spirit. Man, it was weird. It's a weird thing. You start listening to Christopher West, and he tries. It's like I say, you could write a book called The Theology of Pizza, and the intrinsic significance of this, the pepperoni to the cheese. Okay, the inseparable significance. You can't have a true, deep, meaningful deep dish pizza without maintaining the unbreakable significance of the pepperoni and the cheese. Can't have it. It's not possible to have a true, deep, meaningful deep dish pizza. So you got to read the theology of the pizza. Okay, it's because it's just signs, man, and that's kind of how goofy this is. Okay, so anyway, 77 decree explicitly denies that requirement. In the official theological framing, the church represents this as a development, not a contradiction. It is a contradiction because right here we already said rejected, right? We already said not the ability to produce sperm. So it's different, dude. It's not a development. So, but that's what they have to say. Hey, gay marriage isn't a contradiction. It's a development. Right? It's like, no. Women priests it's a development. NFP, it's a development. It's not a contradiction, because of science. You've changed fundamentally the nature of the purpose. And if you don't believe me that oh, shoot. Let me see who this is. Just a minute. Hang on a sec. Hang on. This is John.
Yes, sir. I got your number from my friend, and he says that you're selling the tires, right?
Oh boy. Your friend, I hope he knows what he's doing. You're taking a chance calling me, but that's cool. Hey, tell you what, can you text me exactly what you want since I'm making a video, and then I can text you back?
I can just send you size of the wheel because I am in an urgent situation. I'm calling because I'm just saying with the flat tire.
Oh, you need it tonight? You need it tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, let me push pause. Let me handle this. Just a minute.
Okay.
All right, got his little emergency tire figured out. So anyway, in the official theological framing, the church presents this as development, not a contradiction. Got it. So that's they're going to say. They have to say that because if they have a contradiction, there's no Catholic Church. So we cannot say that. So we're going to say we've changed the purpose of the conjugal act, but we haven't. That's what they're going to say. So they're going to say, okay, cum frequenter addressed impotence, inability to perform intercourse. Yes. So they're saying, look, it's addressed impotence. Later tradition, that's a contradiction in terms right there. Later tradition, this is so funny, overinterpreted it. You didn't underinterpret it. To include the semen quality origin. So they're just trying to confuse you bad. They're trying to say, look, okay, listen to this. This is so funny. So they go, okay, the cum frequenter addressed impotence. Later tradition overinterpreted it to include semen quality origin. 1977 decree clarifies the true principle. Don't you want clarity? Don't you want the true principle? Well, here, we're going to hand it to you. We're going to clarify your true principle, okay? Look, all you knuckleheads. What matters is capacity for intercourse, not fertility or semen origin. So they're saying what matters. So ChatGPT is telling you what matters because otherwise you're overinterpreting. So they're saying that Sixtus V or whoever that pope was in 1500s that made this was just talking about impotence, and then everyone else overinterpreted it. It's all nuts. vasectomy equals invalidity. Always has, always will. When you say marriage is for love, vasectomy has nothing to do with nothing. You can up the love with your vasectomy, can't you? You know, hey, I guess you can. What else are you doing? It's a euphemism, right? What matters is capacity for intercourse. So that this is the new line. What matters is capacity for intercourse, not fertility. What is capacity for intercourse? What does that mean? That means, Humanae Vitae speak, hold on. It means retaining intrinsic relationship to the procreation of human life. Every marital act retains its relationship. So that what retaining relationship is basically double speak for as long as the nuts and bolts are in the right place. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter about fertility and all this kind of stuff. It doesn't matter what you're doing it for. See, you have a capacity for intercourse. That's what. So I think that's clear enough, right? They're just using words to try to get you to go along with this. So, and then it says the 1977 decree effectively overturned the long-standing interpretation. It's not an interpretation. Okay. Yeah, it's like saying, you owe me $5 tomorrow. How do I interpret that? What does that truly mean? It's what it says. The Pope was trying to bash you in the head with it real hard. There ain't no other way to interpret this. You can't have your vasectomy and get married. That's it. That's all he was saying. The 77 decree effectively overturned a long-standing interpretation derived from cum frequenter. Yeah. So they're saying it was an interpretation derived. No, it was not. From the get-go, from when the ink was dry, that was it. Because everyone's like, hey, is this cool or not? These eunuchs, you know? No. I think my dog wants to come in. Okay, so, but it did so by redefining what impotence means. Oh, there we go. Not by formally repudiating it's the 1587 doc. Yeah. Oh, yes. It doesn't formally repudiate. It just through the back door contradicts it. And no one's supposed to notice because we'll tell you it's not really contradicting it. That's all that's going on. It redefined impotence. Did you see that word? Yes, I did. Redefined. You're redefining marriage because you're redefining the purpose. Impotence to the contract. Impotence to what you're supposed to give marriage for. Impotence to the object of consent. Acts suitable for generation of children. But if we've redefined what that is, because NFP says we don't need to be pursuing this. We just need to, it's just got to be there somehow. So in case maybe you get pregnant, in other words, love is number one. Therefore, as long as you're not impotent in love, you're cool. As long as you're doing the thing and you're not impotent in love, you're cool. Whereas before, it's like, as long as you're doing the thing and you're not impotent in procreation, you're cool. It's like you've castrated yourself, right? Changed it. We've redefined. It's a redefinition of marriage. That's all NFP has done for us. Redefined marriage, and ChatGPT has kind of admitted it reluctantly. They'll say, "Did marriage get redefined with NFP?" Oh no, it was just a clarification and a development. Nope. No. Impotence means what impotence means. And physical impotence means you can't do the conjugal act. But what is the conjugal act? One that serves the purpose. What is the purpose? True, deep dish, intrinsic nature pizza with the pepperoni and the cheese, the sign together. It has the significance of that together. That's all it is. You don't have to eat it. You just have to have the significance. You just have to have that significance of Christ and his church. As long as you have Christ and his church and there's that sign there, it doesn't really matter what's going on, right? It's all about the sign. So you can do whatever you want in marriage today as long as you keep that sign there. Now, what else do we have? Here we go. This is where I was going to say where we're going to have proof. This is a brain bender right here. This is where we have proof that there's no way you can say vasectomy used to be invalidating, but now it is validating, because you create a canon law crisis, which is occurring right now, but it's slowly dying out because this happened in 1977, so those people aren't getting any younger, you know? But there's an ongoing crisis with all the other annulments too. This is going to be very difficult to articulate. I'm going to do my best. I can only do so much. Let's see what happens, okay? Now, this dude, Reverend Urbano Navarrete S.J., he's no dummy. In fact, he's so smart I can barely even read what he writes. The guy's amazing. I don't know if he's liberal or what. He probably is, or something. But this guy's brain is amazing. Like I said, you can read it if you want. It's tough. He says, I just happened to click on this. This article is extremely long. I just grabbed like 3 or 5 paragraphs or whatever. Someone could argue a man, because of the incapacity for semen produced in the testicles, has obtained by way of 2 concordant judgments a declaration of nullity. So look, he's saying, look, if let's say you got your annulment, man. You got, first instance and second instance, you got your annulment because you were incapable of marriage because you had a vasectomy, right? Right? And that's the way it always was before 1977. You have a vasectomy? No. And they started to change it a little bit after Vatican II because they're like, no, it's about love. That's when the annulment started to click up after 1965. And then once they opened up the procedure to let this stuff happen real fast, it went boom. Basically, 65 is where the redefining happened, okay? The redefining happened in 1965, the de facto, because you cannot redefine nature, but you can do it de facto. Then we had a backlog of orders. It's kind of like if you're giving away free merchandise at the store, but the gate to get in is only this big. In 1970, they made the gate that big, and then everyone went, whoa, we'll take that. That's exactly what happened. You have to give it away free, and then you have to open the gate so everyone can get it, and that's what they did. Now, so he's got this nullity based on vasectomy, right? Okay, and now the tribunal can therefore remove the Okay, so the marriage of marriage is now in possession of the right to enter a new marriage, right? Because he got an annulment. He can't get married because his marriage was invalid. In 1975, his marriage was invalid because he has a vasectomy, right? But now it's 1980, and he got this, he got an annulment in 1976, right? Then they changed what makes a marriage valid in 1977, and they're saying, no, vasectomy doesn't invalidate. So, okay, now he's cruising town. He's listening to a little Saturday Night Fever. He's got the Travolta hair going, right? And he's like, hey, I think I want to get remarried. So he goes, in possession of the right to enter, so he has now the right to enter new nuptials. He does. He can get married now because he's never been married because he had that vasectomy, right? Invalid. Now he's cruising town with his vasectomy and a little Saturday Night Fever, and he hears that he can now get married with it. If it is verified that he is not impotent, a tribunal can therefore and must remove him from the prohibition if it is verified that he is not impotent. Okay, so yeah, they have because impotence now, as you know, we've redefined what impotence means, haven't we? So impotence used to mean vasectomy as well, but now impotence just means if you can't do the act. You can't do there ain't nothing there. You can't do that, forget it. You're impotent. But with a vasectomy, you can. With a eunuch, you can. So we're cool, right? I can hear the music now in the background. Right. Verification, that is not important. No, okay. A tribunal can therefore by means remove him from prohibition. But this argumentation cannot be sustained. Did you hear that? This is why I say I think I can prove that this new definition of consent is wrong. It's a redefinition. This argumentation cannot be sustained. For by means of the same arguments and proofs which verify that a man is now impotent, he also verified that he was not impotent when he celebrated the marriage and he is now restricted from impotent, blah. In other words, if I was impotent, if I was capable of marriage, if I was incapable of marriage back in the day, how can I be capable now? And I'm the same guy and I can do the same thing. So what's up? Doesn't make any sense, except to admit we have changed the definition of the purpose of marriage. And we're not going to admit that. So what are we going to do? We're just going to not talk about this. And we're going to hope this goes away. And there's only going to be a handful of these John Travolta wannabe guys from the 70s that are taking their newfound thing and they're going to get remarried. And then, but wait to listen, we're going to keep reading because wait till what happens because you get problems. Listen. It is true that the tribunal cannot call for reexamination of the judgments issued. Since the procedure being exhausted, the tribunal no longer has competency in the case. But neither the case before us can remove the prohibition. For the tribunal in question can remove the prohibition only insofar as the examination for procedural acts. It verifies that incapacity of ejaculating testicular semen was the sole reason why the marriage was declared null. Yep. Moreover, in this case, by virtue of logical and ineluctable connection, that means you cannot resist it. Ineluctable. In other words, irrefutable. Irrefutable. At the same time, it is also verified that that marriage was valid and therefore that the man is in fact constrained by the impediment of bond from contracting another marriage. Did you see what he just said? He said, look, you had incapacity because of your vasectomy. And now it's verified that actually you did have capacity because we're now saying in the future, after 1977, that was a mistake. You were capable of marriage the whole time because you don't need this. So we've declared your marriage null from the early 70s. But now with our new ruling, we have just declared your annulment fake. So what are we going to do about that? How's that going to work? Because you're walking around with this, you think you're unmarried, and now we're saying, wait a minute, we've just declared our marriage, we've just declared your annulment fake. Sorry to break this. What are you going to do about that? I don't know. What are we going to do about that? We're going to have to admit that our 1977 ruling is wrong, and we're not going to do that, are we? No, we're not. So what are we? Because we have to get rid of NFP, and we can't do that. The sky would fall if we did that. So what are we going to do? We're going to sort of not talk about you or talk about this, and you're going to eventually get old and go away. And there ain't going to be too many more of you left because this happened in the 70s, and that's the end of it. You know? It's kind of like, I don't know, all these IVF babies. There's a ton of people on ice. What are we going to do with them? Well, eventually they're, hopefully they'll stop making them, and this will just be a problem that will just disappear into history. I don't know. It's like crazy. It's not the best analogy. But anyway, it is also verified that, to cite acts a process in order to verify that a man is, so this goes on and on and on and on and on. And I don't even want to read it because your head will spin, but you can go in and look at it if you want. Because you got to have time on your hands and you got to really get into it. And this whole article was, this guy is smart. It's tough to read. It's just tough. But that's basically what he's saying is you have an inherent contradiction and you can't have that. Otherwise, the church is declaring things wrong for the wrong reason, and we can't have that. So what's up? They made a mistake when they said vasectomy doesn't invalidate, and we can't admit that. Hello? NFP is a pile of garbage, and they have to admit that it's wrong. It's never been officially taught that it's right. They've just kind of chewed around the edges on it, and somebody's got to straighten this out. Otherwise, we're going to continue saying 2 + 2 = 5, and it's no problem. And if you have a problem with it, I think you need prayer. So, cases of nullity already decided in accordance with the teaching that jurisprudence applied before the decree was issued create situations in the field of law. Yeah, that's right. Solutions with juridical principles, with regulated exercises of rights. It kind of goes on and on. It's like, yeah, You just create problem upon problem, and it can't. What did it say? It said it can't. You cannot continue this way. It won't work. To all. Okay, what did I say? The appropriate presuppositions being made to all the Christian faithful belongs to the right that their marriage case be admitted to a fresh examination. So you have to go back and say, this marriage, my fake annulment, I need you to fix it. That's what I need you to do. Go back and fix this because you declared my marriage null. But actually now you're saying it should never have been declared null because it's like saying black people are 5/8% human or whatever they used to say, 60%, whatever you can't say that. You have to go back and fix your error. So they're saying, no, we're not going to fix our error. We're just going to not talk about it. We're going to continue saying blacks are 5/7 human. And that's just what we're going to do. No, you have to fix the problem. You have to fix this purpose of marriage problem. No Christian faithful can be deprived of this right. Oh, yeah, that's right. You do have a right. That's right. You've got a right to redress of grievances kind of thing. It's like, I can't remember which canon it is, but if you think your annulment is bad, you have a right to go get it redone. So they would have to grant it. They would have to grant it to Mr. Saturday Night Fever. They're like, hey, I want to declare myself valid now, validly married. I got a wife back there, and you're saying she's not my wife, but you just told me that the whole reason you granted the annulment was fake. So fix it. Unless there have been brought forward new and weighty arguments and documents. Yeah, fine. Again, this goes on and on. It's a brain buster. Promoter of justice, goes on and on. I think I read most of it last night, and I try to highlight the good parts. As demonstrated above, it is verifiable with absolute certainty. The second marriage is null, according to the teachings of jurisprudence. You got to watch that word, jurisprudence. Marriage is either for procreation or is not. It doesn't matter what the jurisprudence says. It just is what it is. Jurisprudence can decide matters of discretion, but not matters of 2 + 2. Okay. There appear to be 2 ways in which this man might be released from the second marriage. Oh, I see. He got So he got married to his he got married to his disco honey at the bar, and so now it's 1980, and he's feeling not so funky anymore. He's like, wait a minute, I want out of this marriage, but I'm married to you validly, right? Even though I have a vasectomy, right? But I'm reading this and I'm like, hey. If you annulled me because of a vasectomy, you made the wrong annulment. So get me out of my current disco honey marriage. I want to go back to before 1977. What are you going to do about that? Let's see what they say. Either in accord with Canon 1903, which asks for a fresh examination of previous marriage, in accordance with Canon 1971, he accuses the second marriage of nullity due to the impotent of the bond. Oh, that's pretty interesting. So yeah, if your annulment was messed up in the first place and you get remarried and then one day you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm still married to wife number 1. Oh, and I can kind of show that through the law. Oh, okay. And so I guess if we read Canon 1971, I'd have to read it, but it probably says, hey, if your marriage is messed up, if your annulment is messed up and you think it is, you can go back and fix it. So that's pretty interesting. So this is what can happen, I suppose, to people sometimes people will ask me, what do I do if I'm in my second marriage because I got the annulment, and then I'm like watching your videos and I'm like, dude, I got a fake annulment. My previous marriage was valid and they just gave me a McNulment based on lack of love. What do I do? Well, you go back to the tribunal and say, this new bond, this second marriage is null due to the impediment of the bond because I was already married in the first place and the annulment was fake. The hard part is they got to admit it. This is the challenge. You got to make the case that they were. In this case, it's very easy to prove that they were wrong because they openly say we are changing the definition of impotence, and They're not openly saying we're changing the definition of the purpose. But maybe they are changing the definition of impotence because they're saying that the purpose is no longer procreation. So that's a change. I think you could kind of link this together. Again, you have to be pretty smart and you got to really get your brain thinking on this. So I don't know if I'm the guy for that. I know some stuff, but I'm not one of those PhD in trigonometry types. Not exactly. Can you tell? So anyway, similarly, if a woman having obtained a declaration of nullity due to the incapacity of a man to ejaculate testicular semen enters into another marriage, she can pursue two avenues in order to obtain release from this marriage. Either she requests a fresh examination of the previous union, or she excuses the second marriage of nullity, due to the impediment of bond. All right, let me see if I can figure out what they just said. If she got, see this, like, this guy is like, he speaks, he's so smart, it's like hard to figure him out. If she gets an annulment, if she gets an annulment because the man had a vasectomy in the early 70s, she gets a new marriage in 1980, she can pursue two avenues in order to obtain, and then she wants to get out of her 1980 marriage. She can say, hey, go back and trash that original annulment because it was false, because vasectomy does not invalidate anymore. Or she accuses the second marriage of, or due to the, same thing. So, or she can say, this marriage I'm in right now is null because there was an impediment to me getting married in the first place because I was already married before. And the reason I was already married before was because my annulment was fake. So I'm going to say this. That's what I'm going to do. So if you want to, so this is one thing I guess you can try to do if you got a 1095 annulment. It's going to be a little bit of a tougher sell. Again, someone has to really think this through, and I'm not quite there yet. But anyway, there's that. Let's keep going. I am not aware of how many pastoral and moral problems are bound up in the situations created because of ecclesiastical jurisprudence. No, it's not jurisprudence. It's the change of the definition of impotence. He says, I'm not aware of how many pastoral and moral problems are bound up. Well, how many disco fever marriages out there in the 70s had this happen to them? Oh, probably many handfuls, probably a lot. However, it is redounded to the general definition of marriage. If love wins, now everyone who splits up is incapable of love, and they just keep moving, like Rose Sweet. I think her fourth husband just died, but she got 3 annulments, as I recall. And a lot of people get annulment after annulment after annulment because they can. Because if it didn't work, there was something missing, quote unquote. Something essential missing. Okay. Because of ecclesiastical jurisprudence up until the decree of the Sacred Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith in 1977. She goes, I don't know how many people got messed up. Until the decree of 1977 applied as certain a teaching contrary to that of the 1587 decree. Okay? So the new teaching is contrary. That's called a redefinition. So when you redefined in 77, you started taking the rug out from under people because this was the definition that they signed up for, and now they got this new definition. So it's going to create some carnage, some problems. You start messing with people's marriages, and the whole basis of this is the definition. Maybe we could extrapolate this to 1095. I'm not sure. I'm really going to have to think this through. But the main thing we're focusing on is vasectomy at this point, which the decree puts forward. But such problems, which will yet become, okay, here's this kind of juicy. Such problems will yet become more serious if, in resolving them, we do not apply the juridical principles which regulate the exercise of rights pertaining to the determination of the status of purpose of persons of the church, aka do the hard thing. The problems will become more serious. Yes, you have an untenable situation where you're saying we have changed the definition of consent. We've changed the object of consent. We've changed the definition of impotence. We've changed the purpose of marriage. What could go wrong? You're going to have cascading annulments and remarriages and broken families and messed up kids and stepdads and half sisters and all this other, and it's going to keep going. But we're going to say this is nature, and this is Christ in his church. How about Christ in several churches, right? Okay, we do not apply the principles that regulate exercise of rights. Yeah, when you knock on the door of the tribunal and say, hey, I have some rights I'd like to exercise, they're like, get lost. That's what they say, because no, your rights are making us feel really uncomfy right now, so you can take off with your rights. What are you going to do about it? Call Pope Leo the 14th. He'll be right there. Sorry, he won't be right there. He's a doctor of canon law, but don't get me started. He's like mega modernist on all this. He's a love wins guy, big time. They all canon lawyers are, because they all had to do tribunal. It's like they all worked at the abortion mill. At least the ones who are doing marriage cases or who know this kind of stuff. And it's all part of you're all part of the club. You can't you want to go against the system. Your name is mud. No. Okay, so they have to do the hard thing, and they don't want to do the hard thing. They don't want to entertain the rights of others and say, I want to invest. I want you to look at why the procreation is the essential purpose only, and that's church teaching, and therefore my annulment is wrong. Oh, we're not doing that. And also why because of Vatican II. No, Vatican II doesn't bind change the definition of marriage. So you have to go with what it always has been. Okay, so let's see what ChatGPT says. So we said you can change your marriage if you got one for a vasectomy. You can go ahead and change your annulment, because they did the annulment for the wrong reason. They said you weren't capable, but now they're saying actually you are capable after 77. What about Canon 1095? What about all this invalidity for incapacity for what is essential, like essential love? Remember we talked about marriage being that true deep love thing, right? Significance and all that. A person can receive a 1095.3 annulment and later marry validly, because incapacity is judged over time for the first marriage, not as a lifelong condition. It can be overcome. This is a little trickier. Yeah, they're like, hey, I used to be incapable of marriage, but now I'm capable because I really know, dude, or I no longer say I have to wear the pants. So you can change your. So if you can change. This is confusing. I'm not going to be able to talk about it very well here because my brain's going to explode. Now, maybe in 5 years I'll figure it out, or one of you can help me figure it out. But there's a wrinkle here. It's the same kind of thing. You're just basically here. Look, capacity can change over time. Yeah, I guess you could get your vasectomy reversed, and you can get your incapacity for love reversed. But it's not here nor there, because you only need to produce babies in and of themselves. You don't have to produce any love, and everyone is capable of charity. Everyone who's baptized is capable of agape love, right? So you don't need capacity for it. And also, if capacity can change, the threshold for how much capacity, how many units of charity do you need? It's like, well, it depends on jurisprudence. It depends on who you ask. The key to your question is capacity for marriage is not necessarily fixed. This is so confusing when you start getting into 1095 stuff, but we're trying to stay on vasectomies, right? Anyway, a person might lack capacity at one point due to immaturity, yeah. But later, they might receive therapy on treatment, grow to emotional maturity, stabilize psychologically, develop the ability to form and sustain a committed relation. Committed to what? Committed to love, dude. I thought I was, no, oh man, see that? Marriage is about commitment. That's what they say. No, it's not. It's a contractual right over the body. Commitment, my booty. It's like, no, it's not a relationship. It's a society. It's a right. That's it. In that case, the cause of incapacity may no longer be present. Yeah, that's why they say go to counseling and make sure you know what love is now, and then we'll let you go again. So we'll just, but then again, you've just abandoned why don't they, if you're now capable of marriage, they should force you to reintegrate with your real wife, your real husband, whatever, instead of going and get the new one. No, that was just at the time. It's so stupid. Everyone kind of knows it's fake. So again, though, if the goalposts are moving all over the place, and not only is the football moving, but the goalposts are moving, then nothing can be proved, which is exactly why Cardinal Staffa in 1971 said, you got to stop all these annulments because there's no way to judge validity based on it. No way. Someday, when someone's going to unravel this legal pretzel and be able to nail it down and make some hay with it, but it's a big, huge problem. And there's no way out unless you fix the definition of consent. And the political price is beyond anyone's ability to tolerate. They can't do it. You got to give back all the annulments, admit they were wrong, and give back all the NFP. What do you think's going to happen? Every church is going to be arsoned the next day. That's exactly what's going to happen. Why a future marriage can be valid. If the person now understands what marriage, you got to understand what marriage is, right? They can freely choose it, right? They can assume the good essential obligations: fidelity, permanence, openness to children, mutual good. Whoa. Mutual good is not an essential obligation because you don't have a right to mutual good because you can't even define it. I've already said that in a bunch of other videos. That's not the purpose of this video anyway. But they're trying to put a good spin on it because that's ChatGPT for you. Then they can validly consent even if they previously could not. So yeah, all you got to do is say, oh, I'm better now. I'm smarter now. I'm more loving now. I didn't have capacity back then. What did I need capacity for? Well, hold on a minute. Let's look at something really quick. What did you need capacity for? For matrimonial consent to exist, it is necessary that the contracting parties at least not be ignorant of the fact that marriage is is ordered to the procreation of children through some sexual cooperation. This ignorance is not presumed after puberty. So that's all you need to know when you're 13 is where babies come from. That's all you need to know. That's all the maturity you need. That's it. But guess what? They snuck a little weasel word in Canon 1096 right there. Partnership. Because marriage was a society. There was the husband and the wife, the head and the heart, the Lord and the subject. You obeyed, all that stuff. A society has roles like that. A partnership is 50-50 egalitarian unity. So it's a partnership. But even so, how many people at age 13 know what a partnership is? Nobody does. What's a partnership? I guess you have to wait till you're in your 50s before you know what it is so you can get your annulment and get, quote, remarried. What is the essence of partnership? 13-year-old, I don't know. Do you know where babies come from? Yeah, I heard about it in the locker room recently. It's kind of weird. Yeah. Rib for her pleasure. Ew. Okay, yeah. When you start messing with the edifice of marriage, you tear that tree up by the roots, and you got a lot of roots going all over the 100-acre wood, and they're going to start ripping on a lot of different stuff, and you're fixing them all over the place. Be like, well, we got a loose pipe here, got a loose problem there, we got to fix it. Here's one of them right there. Age 13, you're supposed to know what partnership is. Okay? What is that defined partnership? It's a mutual self-gift of, remember the man with the beard talking about that? How many 13-year-olds know what the man with the beard was saying? They're like, some old guy talking about a bunch of stuff. Yeah, no. But you ask anybody who listens to, I don't know. You got to fight for your right to party. Beastie Boys, where babies come from when they were in high, they know. Duh. That's it. That's why everyone could get married that capacity. It's all you got to know. They got a problem, bro. They got a problem. Okay, so let's look at something else really quick. I'm going to show you another video, and then we're almost done. Hang on. I was talking to Father Noiseau today, and he said, hey, do you ever listen to Steve Cox there? And I was like, Cox News? And I think, well, yeah, kind of. And he said, listen to this. And he sent me this Father Monsignor Ricardo guy who talks about vasectomy, and I got some comments for you, so let's listen. Hang on a minute.
Well, he was appointed. Prevost was already member of the dicastery for bishops.
So this Golka guy is the new bishop of Colorado Springs, where Monsignor Ricardo was the judicial vicar. But before that, they had Sheridan and stuff. Sheridan died, apparently. He was an okay guy, but still he was a problem. He wasn't. I got more to say about that, but let's keep going.
This is something that I learned in the last year, because people have been telling me how Prevost manipulated everything, and he was calling even bishops here in Peru to not, recommending them to not accept me for anything.
So Monsignor Ricardo, so he was from Peru, and Prevost was also spent time over there, I guess, and Prevost knew him, right? The new pope. So Monsignor Ricardo is basically a good guy. He's a pretty conservative dude, pretty old school on some stuff, and they don't like him. But there's more to the story. Hold on.
And he is behind all of this.
So that's why. So Archbishop Golka, you had you were in previously Denver, or rather Colorado, for years, and then
in Colorado Springs. Yes, I was judicial vicar, and he came when I was judicial vicar, and from the get-go, my goodness, he was very hostile to me, and I had to correct him a couple of times, because he wanted to do something that is absolutely forbidden.
Listen to this. So Monsignor Ricardo needed to correct the new bishop who's hostile to him about something that is absolutely forbidden. Hold on.
He wanted to dispense a couple from children. So the guy got a vasectomy, and then after having a vasectomy, right after, he said, I want a dispensation from children so I can get married in the church.
Okay. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? All he's doing is he's saying, look, if you can get married with a vasectomy, I don't even know why you need a dispensation. I guess it's like a sort of a, hey, I'm sorry. Like they say, I think the way it works now is all you got to do is say you're sorry. I'm sorry I got it, and it's cool now. And now you can, that's basically, I think, all they're saying. If you get the vasectomy, you can get married. You just have to say, yeah, that was then, but this is now. So I can get the vasectomy on Monday, and then on Tuesday, I can try to get married and say, I'm sorry, and please forgive me and give me a dispensation so I can get married. It's because I got that's all they're saying. So it's not about nature anymore. It's about how you feel inside. And this is part of the jurisprudence from Vatican II. They're saying, look, if you couldn't produce kids, you're out of here. I don't care how sorry you are. I don't care anything. If you're impotent, you can't get married. But now that we've changed impotence, it's still a sin to get the vasectomy, but as long as you repented, dude, you can get the vasectomy, you can get the marriage. And the same you extrapolate that, you can get the divorce and trash your family and take everything out of the family, the money, the house, the kids, the everything, and mess everything up. As long as you're sorry, you can continue with that, because it's all about private thoughts, not about what's actually happening in the physical real world. I can take your car as long as I'm sorry, I can keep it. That's it. That's what there's no more restitution. And the only restitution for an invalid marriage, you got to get out of it. So there's that. So Stephen Cox he thinks it's funny a little bit, or he thinks he's all excited. He's got to get up with the times, because if NFP is natural, you can't restrict vasectomy. vasectomy is now legal marriage. And if it's legal marriage, you can do the marriage act with your vasectomy. And if you can do the marriage act with a vasectomy, you can do it with other stuff too. If you can do NFP and vasectomy, you know, they're just saying, well, as long as there's nothing, you know, you got the nuts and bolts in place, it doesn't matter. Otherwise, you're lying with the language of the, it's like, oh, stop it. These people just, they bend themselves backwards trying to explain it. Okay, so where were we? Ricardo is like, hey, these guys, these liberals don't like me because I'm kind of conservative. And I told him he can't, corrected the bishop, he can't grant a pardon on this thing. But it turns out Ricardo is behind the times. See, he's trying to be a natural, normal guy. He's trying to say no vasectomy. Sorry, Monsignor Ricardo, because if you allow all these divorces and annulments, which you do, and if you say people can go to communion after they file for divorce and go to confession, which I believe you do, from everything I've gathered, then you can go get married after you say you're sorry for your vasectomy. That's all that's happening. But that's crazy talk, right? That's why it took till 1977 for them to straighten that out. And they didn't straighten it out. They just had to patch it over. They're like, oh, look, here we had a water leak here from Vatican II destroying the pipes. Just patch it over. Okay, let's continue.
And he granted it. That's invalid. And today he says that he has the power to do that. That's a shame.
Yeah, so people in Denver.
Same thing, you know, the judges in Colorado Springs, they say, oh, no, this is all internal. We are not to take the case. Even he has defamed you before 200 people. You know, he issued a decree as I was accused of molesting children.
All right, so then they go on and on and on. So you know, the way things are right now, the bishop's totally cool doing that. And Monsignor Ricardo might object, kind of like you object to, I don't know, transgender athletes. Well, if you do, that's interesting, but there's nothing you can do. You might object to transgender athletes, but if gender is nature and gender trans is nature, because NFP is nature, because women can get just as not pregnant as men, then you got nothing to talk about. So just because you don't, if you think two cowboys holding hands is weird, that's your problem, you know, because nature says love wins now. And if you say NFP is nature, then you're just going to have to get used to those good old boys holding hands, you know, and putting their hands in each other's back pockets while they walk to the 7-Eleven. So Monsignor Ricardo is going to have to get used to these vasectomy marriages because, hey, love wins. If NFP is natural, which he probably says, if he was a judicial vicar for Colorado Springs, I guarantee you, he says, divorce, you don't require the bishop's permission, even though the canon law says that we don't need to. It's not divine law. I've got some emails. I got a lot of emails. I used to email them, and I saved some, which I'm going to get into. All right, so let's get rid of this for a minute. Let's go back to our vasectomy stuff, and let's check out what we got. So I didn't get a lot. I talked to Monsignor Ricardo on the phone a lot, as I recall. Like back in 2013, I was asking about this divorce stuff, you know. And also I got some action out of Bishop Sheridan. Like I said, I heard he died in 2022. I was kind of surprised to hear that. But anyway, so here we have Father Sean McCann, who I think Father Sean McCann is still alive and doing his thing over there. But this is back in 2019. I said, hey, Father, and I also CC'd Monsignor Ricardo, who we just saw in the video, because he's the judicial vicar there in Colorado Springs. Okay, so I let me see if I got the question I asked them. Maybe I didn't, but it doesn't matter. Mr. Farrell, he's out of town, but your question was forwarded to me. So these guys are two peas in a pod, okay? This is the judicial vicar. These are the guys in charge of the marriage. It's at Colorado Springs, right? I believe that the important part to stress here is in regard to your question about the party who is guilty for the breakdown of the marriage needs to go to sacramental confession. Here we go. Prior to reception of Holy Communion. So, again, as I said, all these guys are saying marriage is an inside job. And as long as you're sorry and you're not doing it. You don't need public restitution. You can go to confession and receive communion. So if you break the family, if you lay claim to the contract and take it to the state who's going to cut your kids in half and take the money and mess everything up, and then you go to confession for that, you can just keep living separate. It's cool. You don't have to give it. You don't have to make restitution. Same thing, my man. If you break down your fertility and then you go to confession, you can go to Holy Communion. And that's exactly what they're doing. If you commit adultery and you continue living in adultery after now we got several years later, we got Amoris Laetitia. Now that you've got that going, you can stay living in your adultery, and then as long as you go to confession, you can stay doing Holy Communion because you don't have to get out of it. You're just like, yeah, I'm sorry I did that, but now it's love now, and Amoris Laetitia says it's okay. In other words, it's all internal form. Okay. As we all do when we have committed grave sins. So they're saying, look, we're all sinners. All sins are private. There's no such thing as manifest sin anymore. All Catholics are obligated to confess all mortal sins in number and kind prior to receiving. Yeah. Duh. It's public. It's manifest. As I said, I use that analogy. I can steal your brand new Corvette, go to confession, and keep driving it. Right? Hey, I confessed it. It's a mortal sin. I don't have to give it back. I'm sorry. I took it. Sorry, I need a car. This is part of any Catholic living in accord with Catholic teaching. Once that person goes to confession, receives absolution, so they're going on and on about stupid stuff that everyone knows. He's just filling you stuff. This is what the tribunal guys do. You ask them 2 + 2 is 4, and they'll give you several paragraphs, and then they'll say, I'm sorry you're hurting. I think you should email your own tribunal about this. We won't talk to you anymore. Once that person goes to confession, okay, he or she is able to approach the altar to receive our Lord in Eucharist. Okay, granted, absolution will not be given if the person is not repentant of the sin. Yeah, I know. Or if that person is currently in a new adulterous relationship. This was written before Amoris Laetitia, I think. When was Amoris Laetitia? Even if it wasn't, even if it was the same, because this is 2019, a lot of people still think adultery is sin, even after Amoris Laetitia. Just like a lot of people used to think contraception was sin in 1951, but they don't anymore. A lot of people used to think gay was sin, but they don't anymore, because we've changed all that. So this guy's so you have an example of the hanging on of tradition here, the hanging on of nature. You got Ricardo there on the video saying, I can't believe this bishop okayed the vasectomy. He can't do that. Yeah, he can now, because marriage is about love and it's not about procreation. So he's perfectly fine. Get with the now, my bro. Sorry to break the news to you. Vasectomy or us. For both the guilty, for both the guilty and the non-guilty spouse, the marriage bond, the marriage bond remains. Just like if you take your kids and split them up and split up the family in divorce court, your kids still remain alive. They still live, and you still have to take. Yeah, I know that, but you destroy their foundation. That's what you do, and you remove the rights of the parents to educate their kids. But the parents are still alive. Yeah, that's not that's stupid. So they're just going on and on and on. He's making excuses until death or a declaration of nullity is issued by a competent. Yeah. This is a bunch of fluff. It means they're just going on and on. Response to cannot. Blah, 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 blah. I direct you. Okay, look. So now he's like, basically what he says is, you don't need the bishop's permission to divorce because marriage is about love, not about procreation. Therefore, the object of consent is the right to love, which no one can define. Therefore, there's no justice involved. Therefore, divorce is not a sin. Therefore, you can go to confession if you think it is on your own. That's it. Okay, now he says, I direct you to look at John Paul II. Directives towards aiding divorced Catholics in Familiaris Consortio, paragraph 83, which I've pasted it below the whole okay. If I can be of any further assistance or offer further clarification on this matter, please let me know. Have a blessed Lent. I will certainly be emailing you back because I've learned a lot since 2019. I keep learning a lot, which is why I tell you guys I don't write a book yet because I keep learning stuff every day. And I'm going to do that video next week about why Catholics can't go to annulment weddings if there was a divorce involved, if the person is an unrepentant divorcer. I'm going to articulate that and nail that down. No one even brings that up. I just kind of started figuring, this is something new I figured out, okay? Oh, this is pretty interesting. While we're on the topic, I'm going to show you something really quick. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see this, but it just is what it is. I'm gonna read it to you, okay? And I'll have this in the show notes. I just happened to notice this on my desktop. This is from an old book. I don't know how old. This is the way things used to be. This is real Catholicism. Listen up. It's from some newspaper article from 1960 or something. Maybe even earlier. When does the church declare a separation of a validly married couple? We just read from Homie here, Monsignor so-and-so or whatever, that as long as they go to confession, it's fine. The church declares a separation of a validly married couple for a very grave cause, such as adultery, heresy, threats on the life of either, etc. The separation declared by the church does not cut the valid marital bond. That's right. It just alters the contract, but not the bond. Neither of the parties may marry again till the death of the other. Should the cause cease, they must live together again. That's correct. And the cause is judged by the bishop, not you or me or the spouse. The wronged party, the innocent party, should obtain the sanction of the bishop before separation. Actually, they must obtain. The need of separation will rarely arise when both husband and wife are good practical Catholics. That's right, because as it says in our canon, when you know why you're getting married, you don't want to go to hell, so you get back to work, get back to the plow, get your 17 kids going. You're not going to have a reason to separate, all right? But when you're marrying for love, you're over cranking the marriage to try to produce what it's not designed to produce. Who seriously consider the responsibilities of matrimony before embarking upon it, and who did so with prayer and the blessings of the church, who has trusted in God and found deaf to supplication. That's right. You can always pray to get grace to do what you got to do. The responsibilities of matrimony, no one can tell you what they are today, because they'll say love is your responsibility, and no one will define that legally. So they'll say, my definition of love is you've got to give me A through J. And if you don't, you're incapable of love. So give me that, or I'm getting the annulment. The only divorce permitted in the Catholic Church is a separation. What did I just hear? The only divorce permitted in the Catholic Church is a separation with no right to marry anyone else. Oh, I thought CCC 2383 says divorce is fine if it's the only possible way. It's never the only possible way today, because there's always separation available, always legal separation available, all 50 states, either by straight legal separation, or there's a workaround. They call it legal separation by another name. So yes, all this remarriage stuff, now they just say, well, we just call it invalid. And you create this perpetual polygamy machine. Not that the church forces a couple who cannot agree in peace to continue living together. As far as separation includes property rights, Catholics are required to obtain ecclesiastical permission to start the proceedings for a civil divorce. Yep. Even property rights. That's right. That's right. The house, the kids, the money, the dog, all that. You got to are required. That means you have to obtain ecclesiastical permission. Once the divorce is granted, if the marriage has been a consummated sacramental bond, the contract remains in every other way, and neither of the parties can enter into a marriage with another person. As we said with the vasectomy problem, once you start declaring things invalid, now you can just call it invalid, because because if it's not working out, it's invalid, because you're saying, I'm not capable of marriage, or so-and-so isn't capable of marriage, because marriage is love, and I gave my requirements for love, and they didn't give it to me. So maybe they can grow up later. This is how ridiculous it is. This is like the crisis of our time. You can't define marriage. You have no society, no civilization, and it's all going to collapse unless you can define marriage. And the other in the non-English speaking world, they kind of got it better. They're doing a little better on that. Okay, let me go back to the what we were talking about before. All right, we were finishing up with Reverend Sean McCann here. I'm going to be emailing him back. I am going to see what he says. Hopefully he will get back to me. Is that the end of it? Is that all we got? Is there more? Oh boy. I guess we're done. Oh wait, yeah, that's it. That's our show, my guys. All right, you guys, I got 943 subscribers, so of course I'm shooting for 1,000 so we can do some of that super chat stuff, and that'll be fun. We'll do some live things. Anyway, be sure you get your vasectomy stuff straightened out, as in reversed, or you're just living like a monk, and that's what it is, because you don't want to. Obviously, you don't want to die unforgiven like this, right? So it's time to wake up. Remember, if you're not against NFP, you're not on the team. So go out there and stay toxic.
That old